Katie Kaboom asks thoughts on intermittent fasting. So I guess I've kind of like I don't know. I've changed my mind, I guess, a little bit on intermittent fasting. I mean, in general, I think intermittent fasting, it's not good or bad. If it works for you as a means of calorie restraint, I think it's great. Stick to it. I'm not going to bash it. I also don't think that there's really much of a necessity for it. I think one of the problems today, one of the reasons why so many people struggle with their weight, why 1 in 2 people are almost obese, about 42% of the US population is obese, and that number is trending up. If you include people who are overweight, about 3/4 of the US population is either overweight or obese. I think one of the major drivers of that is our constant proximity to hyper-palatable, ultra-processed foods that are quick to eat, easy to digest, dilute of protein, loaded with added sugars and unhealthy oils and refined grains and the like. And those foods are just generally around all the freaking time. So you got to have some form of restraint in place today. And the goal for you is not to try to find the best diet, but the diet that is going to feel, or the way of eating that's going to feel the least restrictive to you. And if for you that means imposing some sort of temporal restraint, then I think that that's great. You know, there is data looking at people who intermittent fast, who practice time-restricted eating, and it's hard to parse the benefits that are seen in those clinical trials from the mere act of adjusting the timing of your food intake, from the fact that oftentimes putting those temporal guardrails in place leads to reduced energy intake. And if intermittent fasting leads to, for you, reduced energy intake, reduced calorie intake, well, then that's a great thing. And I think that's one of the key mechanisms, actually, by which early time restricted eating or even intermittent fasting works for so many people. Because say you put a guardrail in place, like I'm not going to eat past 8 p.m. Well, that's very reasonable, not eating past dinner. Because what do most people tend to eat after dinner? Well, after dinner, you know, nobody's eating more lean chicken breast or lean steak after dinner, right? Like 99% of what is consumed after dinner is likely ice cream and bagged or packaged products, right? Like chips or cookies or confectionery products, cakes, things like that. So by putting in that guardrail of not eating after dinner, I think that that's going to be really helpful for most people. It's not that there's a magical component to not eating. Like whatever you eat at night before going to bed doesn't magically turn into fat. At the end of the day, it's all about energy balance. But there is something to be said for the fact that the things that most people consume after dinner usually tends to be junk food. I mean, it's not magic, but that's just like the reality, right? Like whatever you're able, and also a big reason why people become overweight is not even necessarily, I mean, the foods that they're eating do play a big role in that. NIH-funded research led by Kevin Hall and colleagues has shown that ultra-processed foods directly encourage their own overconsumption. But it's not just the foods, it's the habits that can facilitate overeating or not. And one of the big mechanisms underlying the tendency to overeat is when we're able to do it mindlessly. And when you think about what you tend to eat late at night, especially post dinner, I mean, the foods that you're eating, like whatever the quote unquote foods or food-like products you tend to eat while watching Love Island from the comfort of your couch, those foods tend to be junk foods, right? Like you're not eating pre-cooked strips of grilled chicken breast from Whole Foods, like while you're sitting on the couch watching Love Island, right? Like that's not what people are eating. They're eating ice cream. They're eating, I don't even know, because I don't even have this stuff in my house. What do I have?
Chips.
Chips, true.
Yeah.
Like masa chips.
Okay, those are healthy chips, but yeah, but you can still overindulge in chips like that.
You could say, yeah, you can overindulge in anything. Well, the chips that I have, okay.
Because you like ice cream.
Right. But when I buy ice cream, I buy light ice cream. Right. Like I buy, so this is a wonderful, like, I think an important addition to this conversation. Like, again, there's no magical aspect of eating food late at night that causes it to turn to fat. But if you don't want to intermittent fast, which is fine, because again, there's nothing magical about it. Like, just try to be smart about what it is that you're eating. So now we have all these light ice creams. We've got Halo Top. We've got there's another one. Oh man, I discovered there's a brand of ice cream called Nix. 250 calories for a pint of their vanilla ice cream. Sign me up. It's like, it's amazing. You could eat the whole, because that's the thing. It's like, nobody wants to like moderate their consumption of ice cream, right? Like, how fun is that? It's not fun. So, some of these lighter ice creams I think can be fine. And I do eat chips, but like, if you look in my cabinet right now, I've got Quest chips. You guys know I'm a big fan of Quest protein chips. And so I'll eat those like while watching TV. A bag of those. They're in these small bags, so they're already portion controlled. But I'm different. Not everybody is eating those kinds. Most people are eating like Lay's chips or Doritos, or I don't even have these but those kinds of foods. You guys get the point. Beating a dead horse here, but yeah. So if intermittent fasting works for you in that way, and here's another way to use intermittent fasting to your benefit. Not that it's magic, but if you're trying to lose body fat, when in the day do you tend to be most hungry? When is it more likely for the wheels to come off and the train to run off its tracks, so to speak? It is at the end of the day, right? It's also when dinner tends to be our big social meal. So often, that's the meal that tends to be eaten out more frequently. It tends to be eaten socially. So intermittent fasting could also be used at the earlier part of the day where, if you know that you're more likely to go off the rails later in the day, well, then maybe not eating for the first couple of hours if you're not as hungry makes a lot of sense. Maybe not eating until 10, 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning makes a lot of sense, because you're kind of skewing your food intake so that you're able to enjoy the bulk of your calories later in the day. And maybe for the first meal, you go a little bit lighter in fat. Maybe you go a little bit lighter in carbohydrates. Like for my first meal of the day, it's if I know that I've got like a work dinner or I'm eating out with friends later in the day, and I have specific body composition goals. So most of the time, this doesn't actually matter to me all that much, because I prioritize protein. I have other guardrails in place, so I don't necessarily need to use the timing. But I don't necessarily need to take an intermittent fasting approach. But if I know that I'm eating with family later or friends, and I'm going to be going out to a restaurant where I know, restaurant food tends to be like really oily, I'll make sure that I'm eating, I'm maybe pushing my first meal of the day a few hours into the day. And for that first meal, I'm eating a lower fat meal. I'm eating, egg whites with some lean protein scrambled in, and reduced fat cheese. Not that full fat cheese is unhealthy, but I'm trying to, economize so that later in the day, if I'm going to have like Brazilian barbecue with my family and I want to pig out, well, I'm planning, right? I'm making use of my executive control aspect of my brain and executive function, and I'm planning, and I'm utilizing impulse control, and my first meal in the day is going to be lower in fat so that I can save those fat calories for later in the day. So use intermittent fasting like a tool. There are no hard and fast rules. It is valuable to spread your protein intake out evenly over the course of the day, and eating, making sure that first meal, whatever it happens to be, is high in protein. It can be a lean protein, but making sure that it's high in protein can be really beneficial when it comes to muscle protein synthesis for preserving muscle and optimizing for muscle growth. So that should be really helpful. But beyond that, it's not magic. And if it works for you, fantastic. And if it doesn't work for you, also all good. I won't be offended either way. Hey, if you liked that video, you need to check out this one here, and I'll see you there.